I'm joined by Andrew Kolvet, spokesman for Turning Point Action. Andrew, thank you for joining me.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So tell me right now what the main purpose of this event is and why it's worthwhile.
This People's Convention, I mean, there's a few different aspects to it, but we wanted an event where everybody was invited, right? The RNC's great. We're going to be involved in that as well, actually. But for, most people, they can't get a ticket to the RNC, right? It's sort of an insiders club, and it has a different purpose. We wanted the People's Convention right before the RNC, right? And we're in Detroit. It's just in Milwaukee. It's not far away, but it's for everybody, right? We wanted an event where everybody was invited, everybody could be involved and have a place here. Mission accomplished. I mean, we're looking probably at about 10,000 people at this event, so massive success. Our goal was like 3,000 to 5,000, and we're going to far exceed that. Really excited for that, to see everybody get involved. But more importantly than that, we have at Turning Point Action Chase the Vote, which is our main big initiative that we're doing this year. And Chase the Vote is all about emulating the best practices that the left has taught us on how to get out the vote of their base, right?
Beating them at their game.
Yeah, we're trying to beat them at their game, right? I mean, you think about 2020, it was 42,000 votes that decided that election between 3 states. 42,000 votes. Tens and tens of millions of votes cast, right? We broke records for how many votes were cast. A lot of that had to do with mail-in ballots. Well, what's changed is the political calculus. People need to understand, Democrats created the system that we have, right? They were the ones that pushed for no excuse mail-in balloting. They were the ones that pushed for mass mail-ins, low signature verifications. We don't like it, we don't endorse it, we wish it was back the way it was, but it's not. So our obligation to this country is to play the game the way the rules are now written. And that means chasing every ballot. That means it's a game for 30 to 40 days, depending on your state, of how many pieces of paper you can get in the box and try and beat the other team, right? It's gone are the days of persuasion, gone are the days of election day and paper ballots right now, right? Okay, if we get power, we'll try and change it back. It's a state-by-state basis. So here's what we're doing. We are hiring hundreds of full-time staff on the ground in Arizona, Wisconsin, and then we were originally going to go Georgia, but now we're using this event as a kickoff to really dive deep into Michigan. So one of the key focuses of this event is to really use these 10,000 people as a way to get volunteers for our coalitions and get people to actually sign up to become full-time ballot chasers. These are full-time salaried positions. You're in the field and you are going to become the mayor of your neighborhood, so to speak. So what we've done on our data side is incredible. On our technology side, we've created an app, a mobile app that you can download on your phone. You can push a button and it will show you all of the low propensity R-leaning voters in your area. It'll literally show you a little icon. You can go knock on their door, talk to them, introduce yourself, say, hey, I'm Andrew. I work with Turning Point Action. We're registering voters and we're helping people make a plan to vote in November. So you have 400 to 600 ballots. You have months now before the election. Your job is to get to know everybody, be the mayor of your territory. So, yeah, go ahead.
Now, what would you say to people, because there's a faction of the Republican Party, not the party, but meaning the voters, who are leery of this initiative because they fear that it sort of gives the left an idea of how many votes are coming in. What would be your sales pitch to them to say not to worry about that and to embrace this method?
Well, I would say the way we were doing it, just look at Maricopa County in 2022. Right. We telegraphed our move. We said all of our people are coming in on election day. And lo and behold, depending on what stat you read, 40 to 60% of machines had problems that day. Right. And those were obviously overwhelmingly Republican votes, right? So that was telegraphing the move. So if you really want to tell them what you're doing, just say, hey, we're not going to do mail-in at all, and we're just going to do election day, and then they know exactly our move, and they can then move to counter it. This way, and by the way, it's important to say, we're agnostic with the way that the people we engage with in this project vote. We give them a menu of options. You can vote by mail. You can, in Arizona, for example, we're not allowed to touch the ballot, right? Right. But we can walk you to the mailbox. Right. We can drive you to a voting center to vote in person early. Right. Or you could say, hey, you're a day of voter, and we're going to have your number. We're going to be texting you and hounding you day of. Did you get your ballot in? Did you get your ballot in? And so, and all of these things are automated for our ballot chasers. So there's tools that we equip them with. Not only are we giving them data, not only are we giving them the app, but there's tools to stay in communication with the people you're interacting with. So, I mean, we're talking Arizona, right? 10,000 votes in 2020. Well, guess what? In Andy Biggs' district alone, there was over 40,000 people that didn't vote, that are Republican registered voters that did not vote in 2016 or 2020. In Paul Gosar's district, there's nearly 60,000. That's a 100,000 vote swing in 2 congressional districts, 2.
Right.
And so so we're saying, let's not telegraph our move. They're not going to know how many we've banked before that, how many we chased before that, how many have voted early. And the point is, all methods are good to us, right? We want it to go back the way it was, but right now, we have to take advantage of all the rules that are in place right now, and so we're agnostic about the way people vote, and we support the voter integrity groups that are working hard in that field, and we're working in that field too. But let's do what we can. And by the way, low propensity voters, it's not like you're taking a vote away from day of and then putting it in early. These are people who aren't showing up at all.
Right.
So wouldn't it be better if they showed up, even if it's vote by mail, even if it's early in person, or even if it's, we have to get them their day of? Isn't it better that they show up at all?
I agree. Now, we just mentioned not telegraphing what the move would be, but I'm going to ask you to do that a little bit. Are you focused nationwide or predominantly in those 5 to 7 swing states that everyone focuses on every year?
Yeah, so great question. We have what we call legacy staff in, I believe, 8 states. It's like North Carolina, Iowa, Ohio, Florida, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, Nevada, right? I'm not sure how many that was, but that's where we have them. So we have legacy staff, about a dozen. We're working with other groups, coordinating volunteers, registering voters, all of those things. We have a special focus on the 3 states I mentioned of Arizona, Wisconsin, and Michigan. Couple reasons why. You run 1,000 simulations. Most roads to the White House go through those 3 states.
Right.
We originally were going to be in Georgia, but Georgia's looking really structurally a lot stronger than it was in 2020. And there's a lot of reasons why, but we feel really good about Georgia. So it's also a response to what the polling is showing in the blue wall, right? If you basically run the numbers, you got to get 270 to win.
Right.
There's not a whole lot of paths for Joe Biden if we take one of the blue wall states.
It's very similar to Hillary Clinton in 2016.
Yes,
Once one fell, it was pretty
100%.
Right.
And as one goes, a lot of them tend to follow. But they are different states. There are certain different dynamics that are at play. Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. He does not have a path to the White House, Joe Biden, if he does not pick off one of those states. So we're going all in on Michigan and Wisconsin. Pennsylvania, there's a lot of groups that we're working with. We have staff on the ground in Pennsylvania, but we're more coordinating efforts and working with volunteer groups. But in those 3 states of Michigan, Wisconsin, and Arizona, we are hiring hundreds of ballot chasers. We hope to recruit a bunch of potential full-time salaried ballot chasers at this event.
Now, how do you measure success in the lead up to November, or even September, I should say, because that's when a lot of that happens? Between now and then, how are you measuring whether you feel like it's making the impact it needs to?
It's a great question. Turning Point Action has a very sophisticated operation this year round. In 2022, it's like the Stone Age compared to this.
Yeah.
It was clipboards and tennis shoes. It was pretty rudimentary. It was a lot of enthusiasm building, fan out in a neighborhood. This time we actually have a way to track how many voters we're contacting, what the status of those conversations are, and it's all on the back end of our system. So our ballot chasers are able to sort of keep track of their relationship status, almost like you would in like a sales funnel or a CRM, right? So you're able to track those relationships, keep them in a log. You have managers that are overseeing them, and then enterprise-wide managers over them. So we've got a whole structure of how this is working. In years past, it was a lot of Indians, no chiefs. When it came to ballot chasers, you'd get these temp workers at $15 an hour, and there was a bunch of stories that came out, like when they were supposed to be chasing ballots, but it turns out they're at Caesar's Palace, playing the slot machines, or fraudulently logging voter contacts.
Right.
So it was a total mess. Nobody knew where they were going. It was the blind leading the blind. We have a whole structure in place. We have a whole funnel in place, so that when it gets to election month, they've already built relationships. We call it relational organizing. That's why I keep saying that we want these people to be the mayor of their territory that we assign to them, where we have identified 400 to 600 low-prop, right-leaning voters. So their job is to build relationships with as many of those as they can come election month. Got to keep saying it's not election day anymore.
Yeah.
It's election
It's
month,
crazy,
or
but it's
election
true.
40 days. And then in that 40 days, it's a race to the finish. And I mean, we're talking Arizona lost by 10,000 votes. Well, guess what? We're going to be making contact with probably about 150,000
Right.
low prop R leaning votes.
Right.
150,000, probably maybe more if we do our job well. So when we talk about if you get half of those in, we're talking a determinative, potentially difference in the state of Arizona. Wisconsin, 20,000 votes. Okay. Michigan was a little bit bigger delta in 2020, 150,000 votes, but we've
Right.
got a lot of great momentum. We got a lot of great, like I said, momentum with the urban communities, with auto workers here. So there's hope for Michigan. Pennsylvania, the polling is looking really, really
Right.
good. So I have confidence that one of these blue walls are going to fall. Our job is to throw everything we can at it, everything in the kitchen sink, and go as hard as we can, because what we have to do is we have to get one of the blue walls and run it in the Sun Belt, which right now we're looking really strong.
At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter if it's 270 electoral votes or 400, right? It's just about getting one. So thank you all that you guys are doing, and
Yeah.
good luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.